Hi everyone, the fly I'm tying in this session is my version of the large dark olive nymph. It's a fly that I've used over a number of seasons now, and it's proved very successful for me, especially in the early season when our spring olives are hatching. We all have our different opinions and ideas, but as a fly tyer I'm often thinking about triggers in my flies. When I say triggers, I mean what will trigger a fish into looking at this fly. And having looked at mature large dark olive nymphs, I think there's possibly two triggers in this one. The primary trigger would be the abdominal segmentation, which is quite prominent in the nymph. And a secondary trigger may be the darker thorax cover, which again you see in mature large dark olive nymphs. But either way, this fly works for me, so I hope you enjoy the video, and if you try it, I hope the LDO nymph works for you too. So I have a Kamasan B175 size 12 hook in the vise, and I'm just going to attach the tying thread to the hook. Starting behind the eye, I'll wind down the hook shank to secure it, cut away the unwanted section, and then I'll wind back up the hook and stop just behind the eye. And now I'm going to add a strip of black flexi-body, and that's going to be used as a thorax cover. So I'll just hold that against the side of the hook, take a turn of thread and let that ride up onto the top of the hook shank. If it's not quite there, just position it with your hand. That's it. And now we'll come back up and tie off the thread with a whip finish so we can take it out the way for now. That's it. And now I'm just going to add a little bit of lead to add some weight to the fly. And the lead weight comes in the form of a strip of Vineyard's sticky back lead sheet, and I cut that to about 1mm wide. Start about midway down the hook shank and just wind that up towards the eye in touching turns. One tight in behind the eye, and then come back to the next to the last turn and just take another 2 or 3 turns. Once you've done that, we'll reattach the thread. And this time I'm starting on the bare hook behind the weighted area. I'm just going to wind down towards the hook bend. Once that's secure, cut that away and carry on down towards the bend. And now we're ready to attach the tail. For the tail, I'm using a few fibres of dark green partridge feather. So I'll just pull that away from the central stem and make sure the tips are even. And I'm going to place that on the hook, and I want the tail to be approximately half the length of the fly. Once they're secure, let that thread hang, and I'm going to attach a length of number 10 Glo-brite floss for the thorax. I'll just secure that with a wrap, pull that through a little bit, and then come back up the shank towards the thorax to fasten everything down. I'll just get rid of that stub. Then we'll come back down to the tail. Now we're ready for the dubbing for the abdomen. For that I'm using a dark green awesome Possum. Don't be too generous with the dubbing. My mantra has always been little and often. You can always add, but you can't take away. So just a small amount on, then we'll wind back up the hook shank towards the thorax. And back down if necessary, just to form a tapered or carrot shaped body. Touch more. Just to give as a guide, if you think about the ratio between thorax and abdomen, you want about 2/3 abdomen, 1/3 thorax, approximately. Right, now we're ready for the rib. Just going to tighten that strand of Glo-brite floss up a little bit by turning it clockwise. And we're going to wind it up the body in relatively even open turns. Back up to the thorax area and tie that off with a few wraps. Now we can get rid of that bit we don't want. One or two long fibres there as well, we might as well get rid of now. Right, so once we've done that, we'll just go back up behind the eye of the hook, and we're ready for the thorax. We're going to dub this a little bit more generously if you want, because when we finish the fly off, I'll use the Velcro brush just to pick out a few fibres to give the impression of legs or a little bit of movement when the fly's in the water. Right, let's wind that up. And now we've got the thorax area dubbed, we'll take the flexi-body strip, bring it over the thorax and down the body. While we hold it in position, I'll just take one wrap to secure it. And then we'll do a whip finish so that we can remove the thread. 1, 2, 3, 4 turn whip finish. And we can strip that thread away. And now, before I remove the unwanted flexi body, I'm just going to take my dubbing needle and apply a little bit of varnish onto the thread in that area. And now we can cut away that flexi body. Just come up behind where you've tied it off, just leave a little bit of a stub and cut that away. Now at this point I'd leave that to dry. I normally tie a few of these flies at once, so I'd just leave that varnish to dry, tie another fly, and when it's dry I'd come back to it to finish it off with the dubbing brush. So we'll just leave that for a little while and let it dry. Right, that should be dry now. So we'll take our Velcro dubbing brush, turn that over in the vise, and I'm just going to pick out this dubbing. Normally I just stroke it back over the eye, maybe pull a little bit out to the side as well, and once I'm happy, sweep it all back towards the tail and the bend of the hook. And once I'm happy with that, any slightly long fibres or stray ones, I'll just remove. Cut that away. And that is my large dark olive nymph. I'll just zoom in a bit and see if you can see it a bit better. I'll give that another twirl. So that's it. Fly that works very well for me. So I hope you like it, and if you try it, I hope it works for you.